It is.
Here.
Here.
Up in open session is the pledge. I'll stand up and. Up is approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
Yeah, I wasn't here last time, so I'd like to remove approval of the regular minutes from consent for a separate vote. Second.
Second by Martinez. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Welcome back to in-person for our meeting, by the way. So it's nice to have all kinds of participation back anyway. I thank the board for coming in over the last couple of months and starting our meeting back in person. But this is a nice meeting for us to start recognition back in person. Each year, the Village of Gurnee and the Henderson Foundation sponsor a Teacher of the Year, if you will, amongst ourselves, as well as Woodland District 50 and Gurnee District 56. It's really quite an honor for teachers each and every year. And particularly at Warren Township High School, the reason that at least our recognition is special is because for sure our selection process is staff driven, our nominations are staff driven, the voting is staff driven. And so truly when we come to the Teacher of the Year and recognize them in front of the board, it's somebody who's thought of very highly by their peers, and obviously that means a lot to our school community as a whole. Also, next Monday, I believe, is on the 17th. Our Teacher of the Year will be recognized at the Village Gurnee Hall officially for their recognition. As again, this is an honor for the Village of Gurnee, as well as the Henderson Foundation. And there's in addition to the award and recognition we're special to recognize Robin tonight. There's also a $1,000 honorarium given each year to each of the 3 teachers that are recognized across our community. So we're very honored to have Robin Kubik here tonight. Robin, please come join me. We have your husband Rob with you. Is that correct? So just a little bit for our board members, a little bit about Robin. Your original bachelor's degree was from Illinois State. And you have 2 master's degrees after that, one in secondary ed from Roosevelt, one in psychology from Concordia. So obviously that love of psychology is what drives Robin in regards to her teaching with our kids. She's been at Warren Township High School for 14 years now, 14 years now. And obviously each and every year she's been a teacher that's been nominated or thought of in regards to this process because of the relationships that she built with our students and helping them grow to be fine young people. So it's my pleasure to recognize you tonight, Robin, in front of our school board as our Warren Township High School Gurnee Teacher of the Year.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's nice to see so many people in person. Really. I think just one kind of a comment in terms of receiving this honor this year. It means a lot, I think, for educators in general to be recognized. I think of any profession that's been impacted in the past 14 months has been education. The constant change, the constant change, the constant change. And we've adapted and we've done it. So to have the recognition for my peers, colleagues this year, I think means so much. And I really mean this when I say I share this with them. I think just education in general, I appreciate. And I know that I'm not the only teacher here that's working late all weekend. My husband can attest to, like, where's Robin? She's working. And just doing everything we can for our community and for our students, and try to give them the best we could given the circumstances this year. So very much appreciate the honor. So thank you.
Joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, congratulations.
So that is, obviously, that's a great initial recognition for us. So we're gonna move on. Thank you, Mr. Schultz, for allowing us the time to recognize Robin. No committee reports tonight. Now, we do have a few things for the board, just a few updates I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of. First off, as a reminder, at our next meeting, May the 25th, we should have a closed session before that meeting, and then we'll get back to kind of really like normal. We'll have our closed session down in the board conference room, down in the district office, and then we'll come up here for the open meeting. So back like old times, and for some of you first times, but your first stop will be down in the district office in the board conference room. Also wanted to make sure if board members would like a yearbook. So the yearbook is starting to be distributed to our students and staff accordingly by our yearbook staff and sponsor. Board members are welcome to one. They have one for you. Sometimes board members don't want them, but just please make sure you confirm with Jean. If you want one, we'll make sure we get one for you. And if you don't, we'll let them know that as well. Also, we, as a couple of just general announcements, normally this time of year, or actually probably about a month earlier, normally, we would have been talking about summer camps. The district normally runs summer camps for, many of them are sports-based camps this summer. We are running our camps, but we haven't yet committed to what we're going to do with with earlier, younger than high school age students. Just we're going to let that play out a little bit, see what happens in regards to COVID and safety and the numbers. And we are going to, though, our high school camps are going to open up. I think the registration starts May the 15th. So our high school camps, we're going to kind of get them going and make sure that all the safety protocol are in place. And then we'll also examine whether or not we'll be able to bring in younger students a little bit later in the summer. Also, we have our summer hours from the district's perspective are running this year from June 7th until July 29th. And so generally speaking, there's an exception to the 4th of July holiday and a few positions that are outside of this, but generally speaking, we run 4 10-hour weeks in the summer, work weeks from Monday through Thursday, and then the district is closed on Friday. So again, that starts June the 7th and generally and is will run through July 29th. But I want to ask Mr. Parrott to join us. Are you bringing Ms. Bertola, or is it just you, Rob? Oh, good. We wanted to make sure that this is a pretty important update for the board regarding our graduation ceremonies, which are coming up very quickly now, less than 2 weeks, I guess it is. Is that right? Holy cow.
11 days.
Less than 2 weeks. So, and we wanted to make sure as time has gotten closer, Rob's kind of articulate a little bit about where we thought we'd be at. And with us going to the bridge, we're able to now at least put a little more concreteness on times and things. So Rob's here to update the board specifically on graduation.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Algram. Thank you for allowing me to stand at a podium to present a little bit, which I haven't done in a couple of years now for practicing graduation. As Dr. Algram said, with the announcement from the governor going to the bridge phase starting on Friday, May 14th, it's allowed us a little bit more flexibility in consideration for our capacity at our stadium and at our gym in the event that we have some inclement weather on that day. Our fingers are crossed that we're going to have beautiful weather and can have the 4 ceremonies that we have planned. We sent out communication to our families and students last night with what those plans are. We posted them on our website, and it's kind of out there in regards to our 4 ceremonies. We intend to have a 10 o'clock, a 12 o'clock, a 3 o'clock, and a 5 o'clock ceremony with approximately 250 students and their families at each of the ceremonies. The nice thing about our planning is we stayed consistent because of the capacity ability and the Bridge to Phase 5 plan. We now can fit that same capacity in our gym. So that will allow us to stay consistent for families, that if we do have to come inside, again, we would do a 10 o'clock, a noon, a 3 o'clock, and a 5 o'clock ceremony. So it's very consistent as to what our families we need to know on that day, so they don't have to adjust times and things like that. And the other nice thing is that we've been able to offer 4 tickets in either scenario. So there's no, sometimes in rain plans, you know, you can have 4 or 6 tickets if it's in one location, and then you have to back down to, you know, 4 or 2 tickets, things like that. Oftentimes when you come inside, but we will not have to do that, just given the 60% capacity limits and the nice facility we have here at Almond should we have to come inside. But our option 1 is to have the 4 ceremonies on the football stadium and have a beautiful day and celebrate the graduates in the class of 2021. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
So Rob, the messages, the communications that are going are also letting people know that, you know, we obviously it'll be a public venue, if you will. So if people aren't comfortable, we are still going to live stream the event in either case. If they're more comfortable just watching it at home, obviously we want to make sure that's there as well.
Yes. We will be live streaming on both YouTube and our Facebook channel.
And so for board members, we have obviously you're welcome to come to all the ceremonies. If you're only available certain parts of the day, please let us know that it's sooner rather than later. It doesn't matter to us necessarily. You can only make the afternoon sessions or the early sessions, that we can work through all of those details. And if it, you know, in some to a degree, it is a long day like it was last year, for sure. It's a different type of obviously there's 4 ceremonies this year rather than just a parade, but having a board presence is really special at the ceremonies. And yet at the same time, we also know that, you know, if you can't be at all 4, that's okay too. We'll obviously leave it. We know that not all board members are going to be able to make all 4 ceremonies. So please just let us know as soon as possible, just so that we can start to work through kind of numbers on our end. Make sense?
How are the students divided?
So we're doing just an by
Alpha.
last name, Alpha Slice. It's actually
Cool.
the same groups that we've used when we were working through our hybrid plan, and we had kind of the 25% model. So we've just used those same Alpha Slices. It comes very close to being 250 in each group. Just coincidentally, you know, when we did that, so we just stayed with those same kind of consistent letters that we're doing. So A to E, F to L, M to R, and S to Z are the groupings.
We left the extra hour in between for a number of reasons, but we haven't done this, right? So we're also want to make sure that, you know, we don't anticipate, obviously, our ceremonies when we have them at the Sears Center, when we have one big ceremony, there's a lot of time dedicated in the ceremony for the reading of names. Obviously, that will be a quarter of the time for each of the ceremonies, but each ceremony will probably still We're approximately an hour?
We're estimating between 35 and 45 minutes. Just kind of when we mapped out designating some time for each, you know, processing in, national anthem, listening to me for a little bit, our student speech, like all those things, it came out to about 39 minutes. So just, you know, just kind of give or take a couple minutes on either side of that. And, you know, we're hopeful that the 10 o'clock will start right on time. We're traditionally pretty good about that. And then our noon starts right on time, but we just thought if for some reason it doesn't start till 12:10 or 12:15, we didn't want to get, you know, the 2 o'clock is all of a sudden 2:30 and the 4 o'clock is all of a sudden 5 o'clock. You know, we just wanted to kind of build in a little bit of time in between the 2 sets of ceremonies to make sure that if the first one does go just a little longer than anticipated, we can hopefully make up that time and get started again right on time at the 3 o'clock, and then the 5 o'clock wouldn't be pushed back. So just trying to be accommodating to that. Like we've talked about, it's always good to have more time than feeling rushed and having less time. So just kind of build, and we'll have people there all day. And it's also just a time for some people to maybe grab a bite to eat and things like that in between the two sets of ceremonies.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay.
Yep, thank
Yes, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Sure.
Right now, we're not aware of any changes other than the vaccinated. If a kid is vaccinated, that is something new to compare to when we did camps before. They changed some of those groupings that we had before. That changed once we went to athletics. We were given a green light, so that no longer was an issue. So nothing really changes other than the vaccinated kid will not have to quarantine, and we will have some kids that are vaccinated. That's correct. So we don't know what kind of response to expect from it. That's a family decision, obviously. But certainly from an athletic standpoint and a school standpoint, it certainly would make things easier. We'll kind of see and monitor that as it goes along. We are tracking that to that point of that question. Our nurses, particularly Rhonda Nitto, work very hard with our data management person, and we have it in Power Schools. Now when a student registers, a parent can list that as a vaccination. So we'll start to see what kind of numbers of our kids were vaccinated, which will help inform some of our decisions.
Dan, at our next regular kind of board meeting, we'll also have a return to school update. Maybe we'll have some more specifics at that time on that issue too. It's a great question. All right, that's all for, I think, the superintendent's report.
Second.
Martinez.
Motion by Schultz and second by Martinez. Mr. Demonte,
Yes.
Mrs. Blair,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez. Yes. Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
4 yes, motion carried.
Regular executive session minutes.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Blair. Mrs. Martinez, Mr. Demonte,
Abstain.
Mrs. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
I have 3 yes and 1 abstention. Motion carries.
We do just have a couple of new business items. First, Chris, want to give an overview of our consolidated district plan?
The consolidated district plan is what we're required to submit to ISB. That outlines our plans for Title I, II, III, IV, and IDEA for the 21-22 fiscal year. It also has provisions in there for transportation for delinquent or not for homeless students and students that are have other hardships in it. It also outlines a professional development plan that's in alignment with Title I, II, III, IV, and the IDEA grants. As we have to annually requires board approval, so we could submit that to the state, and then the state will approve that, and then we can begin writing our grants for next year.
Thanks, Chris.
I move to approve the fiscal year 22 consolidated district plan as presented. Second by Martinez. Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Martinez. Mrs. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Demonte,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez? Yes. Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
4 yes, motion carries.
Next up is the approval to expend 20% of our funds. For you.
For them. Any questions?
In essence, we can start spending next year's budget before it's approved, so we can order during the summer.
Correct.
Any questions? I move to-
Just actually, can I ask you a very quick question? With all the talk of supply chain delays, is anything impacting Warren in purchasing that you're aware of? That's what I'm wondering, if you're proactively releasing them earlier than normal, just knowing that, like maybe stuff that your lead teachers or whoever orders would normally do in June, maybe you should do this month, or, I mean, has there been planning? Mhm. Right. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
I know you're absolutely right. No.
Now, I move to approve expending no more than 25% of the tentative budgeted expenditures for the 2021-22 school year as necessary to operate the district before a final budget is approved. Second by Martinez, roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Martinez. Mr. Demonte?
Yes.
Mrs. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez? Yes. Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
4 yes, motion carries.
Next up is the second reception of visitors. I may assume nobody wants to address the board again. That sounded kind of negative. I did not mean it to sound that way. Just I'm looking around and I don't see anybody. Okay, I'll take my way out of that and say, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second by Demonte, roll call.
Schultz, motion by Schultz and second by Demonte. Mrs. Martinez? Mrs. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Demonte?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
4 yes, motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.